Recent studies indicate that there are over 10,000 different species of bird out there. They're also one of the more popular types of animals in the world. I mean, just think about it. You've never heard a person say they were gonna go squirrel watching, have you? But bird watching is a real thing. That's why today we're talking about the 10 most unique birds in the world. Don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to The Supreme, and click the notification bell for more lit content. Let's get rolling. Victoria Crowned Pigeon. We'll kick things off with one of the more beautiful creatures in the world that most people have never heard of, the Victoria Crowned Pigeon. Native to northern New Guinea and its surrounding areas, this bird was named for the British monarch Queen Victoria, and if you can't tell by the fascinating headdress and beautifully colored outfit, this bird is royalty. This bird has two very fascinating features, with one obviously being its very attractive crown, with its tips dipped in soft white. The bird's eyes are also majestic, with a deep crimson color surrounded in black that almost looks like perfectly placed eyeshadow. The funniest thing about all of this for me is that where I'm from, pigeons aren't considered beautiful or royal. As a matter of fact, I think I've heard them being referred to as flying rats. Weighing up to nearly 8 pounds, they spend their days scourging for food along the forest floor, usually in pairs, mostly looking for fruit. The beautiful bird isn't quite endangered, but it is listed as technically near threatened, as they're becoming more and more rare out in the wild. Long-wattled umbrella bird. Up next, we've got the long-wattled umbrella bird, a species native to Colombia and southwestern Ecuador. That thing hanging down from its throat is called a wattle, and the bird has the ability to retract and lengthen its wattle at will. These wattles, like many other examples you'll see throughout today's show, are there for the males to basically show off to other females in hopes of attracting them. The crest on top of its head, which is larger on the males than it is on the females, is quite distinct, and some would even say resembles the savvy hairdo of the late great Elvis Presley. Unfortunately, the creature is endangered due to deforestation and loss of habitat, and there are conservation efforts set up in hopes of preserving the beautiful black bird for many years to come. Golden pheasant. Since we've been talking about birds that are uniquely beautiful, up next we've got the stunning golden pheasant. Native to central and southern China and also known as the Chinese pheasant, these birds are regarded in the region as good luck charms. If a local ever sees one out in the wild, then they're very pleased, as they can expect good fortune in the coming days. Male golden pheasants are some of the more brightly colored animals in the world. Bright golden yellows clash with brilliant reds and deep blues. You'll be hard-pressed to find any animal, bird or not, as beautiful as the golden pheasant. Magnificent frigate bird. Most of the birds we've talked about today, oddly enough, aren't much for flying. That isn't the case with the magnificent frigate bird. These members are of the blackbird family. Frigate bird males are known for their huge pouch that sits beneath their beak. These animals fly over the ocean with huge outstretched wings, and when hungry, they skim the ocean waters looking for small fish that are near the surface. The pouch, called a gular, is used to store fish while the animal continues hunting. This species also uses them as a way to attract their mates. They'll inflate the red throat pouch and then use it as a drum while also clacking their bills. A pretty gross fun fact about the magnificent frigate bird comes from how they hunt. Not only do they skim the surface of the water looking for food, but they're also known to chase after other birds and then get them to regurgitate their last meal so that they can eat it for themselves. Tawny frogmouth. Nature has a way of allowing each species to have some sort of advantage, and camouflage works well for plenty of animals, including the tawny frogmouth. Lots of folks mistake this bird for an owl, as it is nocturnal and does have a very unique appearance. but it's actually part of the nightjar and whippoorwill family. Their feathers mimic tree bark, and they'll often perch on top of branches, blending right in, making themselves nearly impossible to spot. These birds will eat bugs and insects, but really has an appetite for meat and can use their wide beak to feast on small rodents along with frogs, other birds, and even reptiles. Ribbon-tailed Astrapia. Up next, we'll get back to the visually striking with the ribbon-tailed Astrapia, which are native to parts of New Guinea. The thing that strikes you right off the top is that this bird's body is only about a foot long, but its tail is 3 times as long as that. Now, the long tails are only on the males, and they are the longest tail-to-body ratio in the species. Just like with the inflatable throats of the magnificent frigate birds, this extra dressing is a way for the males to impress the opposite sex. The beautiful creations are known in some circles as the bird of paradise, and the males have been known to get tripped up with their own tails from time to time. They often have to detangle themselves before they're even able to take flight. Have you ever seen this beautiful creation out in the wild? If you have, we'd love to hear about it. Drop us those thoughts down in the comments as we continue with the rest of today's show. Shoebill stork. Does anyone out there remember Howard the Duck? It's a science fiction action comedy from the 80s that originated in Marvel Comics. Of all of the birds on today's list, the shoebill stork looks most like a superhero, at least to me, as its tall stature and unique beak make it almost look sort of fake. Another distinguishing characteristic, and one that also reminds me of a superhero, is that these animals are fearless. They've even been known to attack crocodiles, which, by the way, I wouldn't necessarily recommend. They're also feisty, and their young will even attack each other. Their beaks, which is sort of shaped like a shoe, are nearly indestructible, and these animals have a lengthy lifespan and can survive in the wild for up to 35 years. Vulturine guinea fowl. If the pigeon isn't normally a bird that you associate with being beautiful, then a vulture is certainly another that fits in that same category. Well, technically, the vulturine guinea fowl isn't a vulture at all, though they do have similar facial characteristics. Native to tropical African countries like Kenya and Ethiopia, this animal rarely flies, but it is a pretty fast runner. They've got a bright blue body that has black and white spots running throughout, and like the pigeon in the previous numbers, these creatures also have bright red eyes. A fun fact about the vulturine guinea fowl is that newborn chicks hatch out of their eggs pretty well developed and have the ability to fly after just a couple of days. Puffin. The common puffin is one of the most unique looking birds in the world. I mean, just look at it. This thing looks like it could be a Pokemon. This seabird has a short neck and a large head. Its beak has a very distinct color pattern with orange, white, and gray, and its eyes are even more mesmerizing. Mating parents will usually spend years together, raising their hatchlings as a pair and often displaying affection towards one another as well. You can find them among various shorelines of the North Atlantic and North Pacific, and they even have the ability to dive underneath the water and hold their breath for up to a minute while hunting. They'll go as far as 200 feet into the ocean in search of a meal and can hold multiple fish at the same time in its uniquely shaped bill. Similar to penguins, these animals are very social and enjoy living in large colonies. The largest of all the colonies rests in the Westman Isles, where one nest features more than 1 million birds. Kakapo. One of the most endangered birds on Earth is the kakapo, a very unusual parrot that can only be found living wild in New Zealand. What makes it so unusual, you ask? Well, for starters, it's the only parrot in the world that can't fly. Their legs and claws are very strong, however, and the small bird still gets around pretty well, even though it doesn't have the ability to take flight. It can even scale trees and then use their wings to float back down to the ground whenever they're ready. Another quick quirk about the kakapo is that when they feel like danger is nearby, they freeze, standing completely still in hopes of blending into the background. Unfortunately, their inability to fly and their distinctive smell make them easy targets for predators in the area. That, combined with loss of habitat, has forced the bird into being critically endangered. Despite that, the life expectancy of one of these fowls may be the longest of any bird, as they can easily live for more than 90 years. There are all types of birds out there, clearly indicated by the unique showing on today's countdown. Which of these special creatures was your favorite? If you can own any as a pet, which would you choose? Let us know your thoughts and opinions down there in the comments as we get everything together for tomorrow's all-new episode. You've been watching The Supreme. We'll see you next time.